Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another famous Nerdmotron movie commentary. As voted for by my adoring fans, we're going to be working our way through the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit trilogies, or trilogies, if I may be so bold. Um, some of these movies I really love, and some of them are boring, bloated, pointless, soulless garbage, and I hate them. Um, which ones? Well, you'll just have to stick with us for however many weeks this takes in order to find out. But first up, we have, of course, 2001's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, directed by Peter Jackson. 4 hours of movie. Nearly 4 hours. It's like 3 hours and 40 minutes or something. And a lot of that's credits, so, it's like 3.5 hours, something like that. We're doing the extended editions because I'm not a coward, despite what people might say. Anyway, lots to talk about, so let's get into it. I'll go 3, 2, 1, play, and we'll use the New Line logo fading out as our sync up point. Okay, that good? Righto, let's rock. Now, I'm not particularly well versed in Tolkien's lore, so if you're hoping for a lot of me going, that's not accurate, that's not accurate, that's very accurate, that's too accurate, if anything, well, I can't really do that, I'm afraid, so too bad. Mostly this is just going to be me going, ooh, that shot's nice, and stuff like that. Just to sort of manage your expectations a little bit there. But I mean, you've heard one of these before, so you know what's up. Anyway, let me just get me copy lined up here, and then I'll go 3, 2, 1, play, and yeah, sync it up as I said. Right, 3, 2, 1, and play. And there's the New Line thing doing its spinning around. New Line Cinema, a Time Warner company, and it's faded away. Good stuff. The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power, you know? Like that TV show. Yeah, probably shouldn't have given them those. But then that's all part of the plan, isn't it? Now, I should warn you that I do have snacks. Because this movie is about as long as the age of the universe. So if you hear me a munching and a crunching, you're just gonna have to fucking deal with it. Because I will need some sustenance through this. Huzzah! So one of the lore changes that I do know about with this is that this whole siege of Barad-dûr, um, Sauron's towery castle thing, in the books it lasts 7 years, but in this it's just one battle because obviously it's quite difficult to portray 7 years worth of siege in a couple of minutes. Uh oh. It's Darth Vader! I mean, no. Oh! See, that looks impressive, but when you think about it, all the soldiers were just kind of standing there. They could have all just piled on top of them. Just a dog pile on Sauron with swords. They probably wouldn't have worked, but they could have tried. Oh, imagine getting your fingers chopped off like that. Fuck. What a way to go. To be fair, I think I would probably explode like that if I got my fingers chopped off. I like that. That the ring it's sort of it's not exactly sentient, but it's just like come and get me, come and get me. Look, I'm really pretty. Come and put me on your finger, or in a chain around your neck, as is how most people seem to wear it. My precious. Now, interestingly, it's not actually Andy Serkis doing the voice of Gollum at that bit. I think it was Billy Boyd that stood in for him to do that. It's a bit of a rude thing to say about Ian Holm. We're doomed. I was always really fascinated by that map. I used to draw a lot of fantasy style maps when I was younger, and it was all basically just kind of copied from that sort of style. I don't know. There's just something very, very pleasing about it. I think it's because it quite aptly demonstrates the depth of the world building that's going on there. Because it is quite literally an entire world that has been built. And not just like a sort of like a Star Wars universe, for example, that's just mostly kind of cobbled together on the fly. He worked it all out, did our Tolkien. He was quite into his like history of languages and just history in general, I think, and made a very large, dense uh, world, just populated by real people. It's really impressive. They're just simple folk. Someone at the door. Oh yes. Oh, 420 lol. I mean, that's a life, isn't it? Just just spending your days doing a bit of gardening, bit of drinking, bit of eating and bit of smoking without a care in the world. Right, let's talk about the cast, shall we? Well, speaking of Frodo, Elijah Wood as Fredo Baggins, the traitor brother from The Godfather 2. Um, but he has starred in other things, believe it or not. Some examples include Eternal Spotlight on a Sunny Brain and that Dirk Gently Netflix series that no one watched, and Sin City, which is a film that was made. This is Gandalf, the famous Gandalf. You all know Gandalf, Big Daddy Gandalf. Uh, Ian McKellen, don't you know? Who is probably most famous for starring in such cinematic masterworks as 1994's The Shadow and 2019's Cats. He's also best friends with Charles Xavier and famously lost his mind while filming Hobbit trilogy. But we're more on that another time. A wizard is never late. We arrive precisely when we mean to. Blah, 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 blah. Except when you don't. I'd love to have a little house under a hill. I mean, it would need to be a big hill because I am not hobbit sized. What, like four, maybe like sort of four, 3, 4 feet tall on average, a hobbit? Something like that. He's a nerd. But yeah, I would need to live in a big hill. A mountain, perhaps. Legitimate, legitimate panic, that. When you think you've lost something valuable, and it turns out it was in your pocket all along, but you have a panic and you go raking through all your stuff looking for it. Relatable stuff. That is quite incredible to think that that cart being shot there is not the shape of an actual like wagon or cart or whatever you want to call it. Like they had to make it into this weird sort of MC Escher style impossible shape to get all the perspective shots to make it look like the hobbits are short little people compared to big massive lanky tall Gandalf. Now here's a question. Is Gandalf actually magic, or does he just use a lot of like Batman style trickery? Because that seemed like he was doing magic there, but he was just setting off a bunch of fireworks. And a lot of the quote unquote magic that he's doing, it's just like flashing bright lights. Excuse me, like flashing lights and all sorts. I mean, the answer is, of course, yes, he does do actual magic because he, like, spoiler alert, comes back to life and has a fight with a lightning sword on top of a mountain and stuff like that. But I think it's kind of interesting that he's capable of doing all that stuff, but he spends most of his time just hanging out with these people, um, setting off like fireworks and then doing little silly tricks like that. Like he could probably fucking destroy the world if he wanted to. He's probably incredibly powerful. Right, who else is in this fucking movie? Orlando Bloom as Lego Man. And I tell you what, his performance is about as stiff as plastic, eh? Oh, got him. Nah, he's alright, I guess. I mean, he's not the best actor in the world, is he? You may know him from things like 2003's Ned Kelly and an episode of Midsummer Murders, apparently. And if that doesn't ring any bells, how about Carnival Row, the single worst thing that has ever been made? I think it was like was it Amazon or was it Netflix? He really bumped his head there. That was like a real. That wasn't scripted. That was that was just a little moment. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Carnival Row. No, don't. It's bad. It's so bad. It's like Tolkien-esque high fantasy with like pixies and elves and all kinds of shit, but sort of mixed with like Victorian England. I think it's based on like a young adult novel or something like that. But it's so bad. I watched like maybe the first couple of episodes of it and was like, this is just utter pish. And Orlando Bloom is bad in it because he's not a great actor, is he? And he was in something about pirates or something like that. I don't know. Mate, same. Fucking same, bro. Yeah, get away from it all. I could go for a bit of old Toby right about now, you know what I'm saying? Hey! See, that's magic, I guess. You couldn't just do that. Not with a million years of practice. Be-doo, be-doo, doo, be-doo, doo, be-doo, 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 doo, doo, be-doo, doo, be-doo, be-doo, be-doo. That cake is made out of polystyrene, and it got set on fire by all the candles. 111 candles. Oh, aye. Woohoo! And I guess the fireworks have got a bit of magic in them or something, because that doesn't seem like regular firework behavior to me. Not exactly how it went in the Hobbit first Hobbit movie, but we're not here to talk about that one. You cheeky rascals. Yeah, I could go for a bit of the old gaffer's homebrew the new, you know what I'm saying? Hey! Right, who else? Who else? Who else have we got in this film? Oh, oh, oh. That scream, that little scream there was apparently a genuine Billy Boyd getting a fright scream. Because he didn't expect the thing to actually, because it actually exploded on set. Well, you know, not like a full on explosion. You know, it wasn't going to kill anyone, but you know. Right, that's cool and all, but that firework is basically a weapon of mass destruction. I mean, you could probably launch that into Mordor and just win the war. Just launch that directly into Sauron's big glowy eye, and it would just blow him to smithereens. So yeah, more cast. I do have a note here that says, fuck me, there's a lot of people in this movie. And there is. Look at them all. So we got Sean Bean as Boromir, who is most famous for calling people bastards and dying a lot. He was in 2007's Outlaw. Don't watch Outlaw. It's a really bad movie. He has had many actually great roles over the years. And he doesn't actually die all that much. He doesn't actually die as much as you think he's as much as the meme would have it. Um, I like that. Trolling them. He's trolling them. Um, yeah, but to me, he will always be the guy. Sean Bean, this is. He will always be the guy who gets shot for reading poetry in Equilibrium. Um, oh, and how can we forget Ian Howe, the baddie from National Treasure? Hello. Cheerio. Holy shit, he's a ghost. Bilbo Baggins, the original inventor of ghosting. So we've got another Sean in the cast, Sean Aston Martin DB5, as Samwise Gamgee, who we've already met. I wish I was called Samwise. That's a cool name. Anyway, this Sean has starred in such classics as The Goonies, which is not a good movie. Do not fucking at me. It's bad, alright? Just accept it and move on. But he's done stranger things than that. You get it? You get it? Because he was literally in Stranger Things, you know? Hey! See also some Captain Underpants things and also The Hobbit, but not the one you're thinking of. He was in a little thing called The Hobbit Kingdoms of Middle Earth Dance Battle. And if that doesn't whet your appetite, then I don't know what possibly will. Yeah, okay, he's actually magic. Fine, it was a stupid question. Fine, I accept it. Fine. Let's just move on, shall we? Uh, More cast. Billy Boyd as Pippin. Fool of a took. He's been in stuff. A bunch of crap, really. Stoner Express. Movie about the pipeweed, eh? About the old Tom or whatever the fuck it was called, eh? Oh hey, hey. Chucky's Family Vacation. Master and Commander, Dark Side of the Moon. What is any of that? You know? But hey, gotta pay the bills somehow, I guess. So you don't want to come up with the ending first. Or do you? I don't know. Fuck off. What do I know about writing a book? Go on, Gandalf. You know you want to. You know you want to. Just, just put it on the, put it on. You can. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Ooh, maybe not then. See, I maybe wouldn't have just left it lying on the floor right by the front door. So that literally anybody who. And leaving the front door open as well, so that literally anybody could walk in and just find it. Or maybe that's what he was hoping for. Maybe he was hoping that somebody would just sneak up and take it away, and then he would never have to deal with it. And it would be away from the Shire. Questions such as, what is this ring? And can I do real magic? Next up in the cast, I mean, these are in no particular order, by the way. Just how it happened to happen upon them. Ooh, spooky, spooky evil land. Is that Barad-dûr? Is that the big man's castle? I don't think it is. I think that's like Minas Morgul or something like that. So that was Gollum getting tortured to give up information about the whereabouts of the ring, who was played by famously, perhaps most famous, his most famous role perhaps to date. It's Andy Serkis. He's probably most well known either for this or for being a monkey. Um, he just loves to have his motions captured and used to animate big CGI apes. He can't get enough of it. He, of course, worked with Peter Jackson on King Kong because he was the titular Kong in that film. More recently, he's been Alfred in The Batman, a movie that is good actually. Is that a controversial thing to say? I think everybody's pretty positive about the Batman. They should be, because it's very good. Well, it's a bit overlong, but. Well, actually, is it? I don't know. Anyway. Planet of the Apes. He was in those Planet of the Apes movies, which are mostly pretty good. They definitely get better as they go on. He's done MCU stuff. He was Ulysses Claw, the South African arms dealer who gets his arm chopped off and replaced with a like a sonic cannon thing, which was fun. He was in that Christmas Carol adaptation with Guy Pearce from 2020, I think it was. That was really good. He's just done a bunch of really good stuff. Oh, Peregrine Took. That's racist. That guy voted Brexit. Yo. Have more confidence in yourself, Samwise. You are clever and handsome as all get out. Ooh, spooky. Don't leave your windows open like that. Anybody could just come climbing on in. Like a Gandalf, for example. Oh! Could have just opened the thing, you know? It's very cool. It's rad. God, look at that acting. He's good, isn't he? He should be in more things. Evil! There has been an awakening in the Force. Well, it's a bit late for that. Uh-oh. Oh dear. That was a bit rude. Guess you're going on a holiday after all, kiddo. So who else have we got in this film then? We've got Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn, son of Arathorn, Strider to his friends. Fun fact, I have never seen any other Viggo Mortensen films. No, not even Young Guns 2. Not even G.I. Jane. Not even Crimson Tide. Although, actually, I think I might have seen that one once upon a time. Maybe. Anyway, he's in stuff, and he's fine, I guess. I don't really know that much about him. Excuse me, I'm just shaking my juice. Birds and beasts. We also have Kate Blanchett as Galadriel. Kate has been in literally every movie ever made. But because I'm a massive twat, I know her best from Thor Ragnarok. And this movie, obviously. But what else? Red was good, I think. I think. It's been a while since I've seen that. She was in Don't Look Up, along with anyone who has ever done any acting ever, past, present, and future. She was in The Curious Case of Brad Pitt aging backwards. She was in the terrible Indiana Jones Crystal Skull movie. You don't know that. Down to the step, down to the individual yards and inches, I don't think so. Do, do, booby doo. Lovely little fry up. Oh yeah, she was also in Hot Fuzz, which a lot of people, Kate Blanchett, that is, which a lot of people don't know. I think she was I think she played Simon Pegg's partner, like girlfriend partner. I mean, um, look at those fucking elves. Look at him, all glowy, and they're all right. They're pretty cool. Um, yeah, there's a scene in Hot Fuzz where he goes to Simon Pegg goes to like a crime scene that's being investigated, and there's a bunch of folk in like full like coveralls and face masks and stuff. And I'm pretty sure Kate Blanchett plays, and one of those people is Simon Pegg's girlfriend, and I'm pretty sure it's Kate Blanchett that plays her. Could be mistaken about that. Probably not. And yes, as I said, we've got Ian Holm as Billy Bagman. Who's again, he's in just far too many things to really mention. But a special shout out goes to 2001's From Hell. Why? Because it was from the same year as this film, 2001, and it's hilariously awful. Uh, but he's quite good in it. And here we have Christopher Nazi killing Dracula Lee as Count Dooku. Saruman. Um, who has also had just he had the longest career ever. Like he was about 500 years old, I'm sure, at the time of his death. Um, yeah, just so much stuff. A lot of Hammer horror stuff and like guesting on like power metal albums and things like that. I think he worked with like Blind Guardian, who did a lot of like Lord of the Rings themed power metal years ago. Um, he's just a good actor. Look at him go. He's good at it. Um, just some of that good old school English thespian class. You know what I mean? And he killed lots of Nazis, which is cool as well. It's actually quite a funny little tale from the making of the third movie, because there's a scene in that where it's in the extended cut, so it will be in the version I'm watching, but it was cut from the theatrical version, where Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back, and Peter Jackson was like, "Oh, when you get stabbed in the back, you do the do a scream and then fall down." But Christopher Lee was like, "Well, actually, when you stab a man in the back, it's more like you sort of knocked the wind out of them, because he was a spy and he probably stabbed a lot of Nazis in the back." Uh oh, the nine. Uh oh, they're gonna have a lightsaber battle. Saruman, the ultimate Lib Dem. For any of my non UK listeners, that just means that he will cozy up to anyone who's in power, no matter how vile and atrocious they are, just so that he can get just a little bit of power for himself. That's basically what a liberal Democrat is. No politics, though. Don't want any politics in this explicitly political uh, fantasy story. See, that's great. That's just a fun fight, I think. Just a couple of old men just pushing each other over. Wee. Wee. Whoa. Oh. So, who else have we got? We've got Dominic Monaghan as Merry, the other Hobbit pal, who is probably most famous for playing Charlie in Lost, but we don't talk about Lost, or the Star Wars movie that he was in, or the X-Men movie that he was in. He's been in a lot of shite, but he's not too bad. He's definitely my favourite of the Hobbits, I think. No, he's not my favourite. That's Merry. Sorry, that's Pippin. Pippin's my favourite. It's easy to get them confused, you know. Yeah, Pippin's my favourite because he's Scottish and he's also a bumbling dumbass, which I find very relatable. Oof. Ow. Tasty, tasty mushrooms. We also have John Rhys Davies as Gimli. I fucking love Gimli. He's just a grumpy wee Scottish guy. Sensing a theme here with the characters that I like. You fucking know that I relate to that. What else has he done? He was Salah in a couple of the Indiana Joneses. Just one of Indiana Jones's pals. Apparently, he was in the Aquaman movie, but one day I will talk about those DC movies. One day. But not today! Now, here's a fun fact. This was the first scene that they filmed. Yeah, they're not too bright, those Black Riders, are they? The Ring Wraiths, the Nazgul, to give them their proper name. I knew someone in school who was really into Lord of the Rings and really well versed in all the lore and stuff. And he would get so wound up every time I called them ring wraiths. It was like, that's not what they're called. They're called the Nazgul. Only stupid people call them ring wraiths. I'm like, well, shut up, dork. They were called ring wraiths by the common people, and I consider myself to be one of the common people. See, that's nearly an hour of this movie already, and it just doesn't feel like it at all. Is it's long? It is definitely long, but it's in like even with the extended editions, they don't seem overly long. You know what I mean? They're just so well made. These movies. I Right, let's bash through some more cast here. We've got Liv Tyler as Arwen, who you may know as Bruce Willis's daughter in Armageddon. Got an interesting fact about Bruce Willis that I'm going to bring up later. Ooh, there's a bit of sizzle for you. Um, Two Bruce Willis facts in one Lord of the Rings commentary. Unprecedented. Apparently, on the first take of that, Elijah Wood jumped too far, like overshot his jump and landed in the water. That's quite funny. And also, he could have died, I suppose, but we don't want to think about that. Liv Tyler, yes, also Betty Ross in The Incredible Hulk, as well as being female character one of three in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. She's also been in a couple of Aerosmith music videos, believe it or not. And I'm not just talking about Armageddon. Oh, yes, man. I mean, it could have something to do with Steven Tyler being her dad, but who knows, really? See, there's something there about fear, like latent fears and suspicions being used to generate mistrust in general for people out with select communities. Like everybody's just suspicious of everyone else because there's evil forces at work. Politics, you know. Right, who else have we got in this cast? Salah Baker as Sauron. He was in The Mandalorian. I bet you didn't know that, but now you do. He was one of the. I think he was. I think he's one of the ones in the episode with the. In the episode of the first series with the ATST. I think he's one of the. Like one of the gang that's like harassing that village. I think. We've got Lawrence Makore, Makore, Makoare. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Anyway, we've got him as Lurtz, the big Uruk-hai, or Uruk-gai, if you will. Good stuff. He was in Xena Warrior Princess. I bet you didn't know that, but you do now. And also, I've got another Xena Warrior Princess fact related to this movie coming up later. Even more sizzle, baby! He was also in Die Another Day. So there you go. Oh, don't get an entire pint, mate. Know your limits, okay? You're in a strange place. You're in a strange town. You don't really know your way about. And like, fair enough, you've got your pals there to look out for you, but you just want to take it easy, buddy, okay? Just pace yourself, you know? Strider. He likes how he puff on the old pipeweed and all, doesn't he? Tell you, he'll not be doing too much striding after a big bowl like that. Oh, ho, ho, he'll be straight to bed. Now, there's a very obvious and very crude joke that you could make in basically any scene in this movie that has Frodo, shall we say, manually manipulating that specific article of jewellery. Yep. Oh. Whoa! Oh, my stars and garters! That's gonna draw some unwanted attention. Whoa. Yeah, that's a bit unnecessary, chucking a wee lad around like that. Do-do-do. Ooh, that's got a height. And last in the list of cast members that I could bother writing about, these are the main ones. I mean, there's obviously others, but they're not as big a deal as these ones. We've got Hugo Weaving as Elrond the Elf Daddy. I'm just trying to think of what other famous franchise he's been in. See, that's good. That's good. I genuinely thought, when I first saw this in cinema, I genuinely thought they were fucked. Um, yeah, what other franchise has Hugo Weaving been in? It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, yeah, Happy Feet. How could I forget? How could I forget about Happy Feet? What's that? Otherwise well-meaning people. Well, actually, I was going to say otherwise well-meaning people getting seduced by evil, but it's not really the case with the rings that were given to the humans, because the humans had a lust for power anyway that was getting played upon, and that was kind of the whole point there. I suppose all the races of Middle Earth kind of had some kind of lust for power, just of a slightly different kind. So it's like it's more a case of they were people with ambitions for power and and glory and all the rest of it, who were very easily manipulated by somebody very powerful and evil into becoming that evil power's servants. No politics, though. Don't want any politics in my explicitly political fantasy story. Thank you very much. Tell you, there are some pretty fantastic shots. New Zealand is a lovely place. Why does he say breakfast? Ah, ooh, it's a stinky bog. Right, let's talk money numbers because that's fun, I guess. Something to talk about anyway. Wait, what's this? What's this guy singing about? What are you singing about? You with the lady. No. I wonder if that's maybe going to come into play at some point in the future. Anyway, so the movie had a budget of $93 million and it grossed 47 million in its opening weekend in the US, $897 million worldwide. So yeah, it made its money back and then some. So good work, everyone. This is what happens when you spend time and care and effort to plan and make a film series that everyone involved in is passionate about, and you don't just throw together some crap literally at the last moment, uh, some pointless crap that no one cares about. But we're not talking about the Hobbit movies yet, are we? No. God, I can't believe I'm going to have to watch them. Oh, no. Anyway, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah, it's probably really cold up there. Oh, no, the trees! Not the trees. So here we have an allegory for rampant industrialism ravaging the natural world. But again, I don't want any politics in my explicitly political fantasy series. Thank you. None of that, please. The Watchtower of who, mate? You said that like it was meant to mean something to anyone. Do you think these fucking idiots know who Amun Sul was? Wasn't that the guy who had the Green Lantern ring before it went to Hal Jordan? Ashy tomatoes. Yeah, that was really stupid. But then they love their food, don't they? Do, 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 do. God, they're spooky. They're just really, really spooky guys. Ooh, got yourself, Sam. Well, come on now, Frodo. No, see, that's obviously not going to work. Bad idea. Resist! Frodo, you must resist! Gone yourself, Aragorn. Gone yourself. So it's interesting that this would be a new line feature because their New Line are more known for like their horror franchises, like Nightmare on Elm Street, most notably. Um, I did a bit of research into the story of the production of these films, and let me tell you, it's a long and mostly tedious tale of Hollywood business wrangling. Um, but there's some interesting stuff about it. Like in 1995, Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh were finishing up on The Frighteners, which is a very good film. You should check that out. We're considering doing some sort of high fantasy type project, mostly just to keep their effects company in business, Weta Digital. Um, they sort of set about planning a sort of Lord of the Rings style thing, but everything that they were coming up with was basically identical to Lord of the Rings. So let's like eventually just like fuck it, let's just adapt Lord of the Rings. Um, so he was under contract with Miramax at the time. So he pitched it to them first. It was initially as three films, but the first one would be The Hobbit, an adaptation of The Hobbit, and then the other two would be The Lord of the Rings, but split in two, which is a bit of an odd way of going about it, really. But anyway, um, yeah, that all fell through for various reasons that aren't particularly interested. There was some money shit that needed to be worked out and stuff. Um, and then New Line were like, "We're interested, but could you make it into three films of the Lord of the Rings?" And Jackson was just like, "Yeah, okay, that's fine." He was actually quite enthusiastic to do that because it would allow for a lot more creative freedom. And then production actually started in 1997 with Weta spending years building sets and models and enough weapons and armor to literally supply an army. Um, and frankly, a lot of the stuff that they've made is just like look at like all of this, for example. All of this they made. All of these swords and helmets and things. Loads of that was made. Um, yeah, some of the greatest props and stuff that in cinematic history, really. 48,000 pieces of armor, 100,000 arrows and 500 bows, 1,800 orc bodysuits, 10,000 orc heads. They spent a year creating hobbit feet that looked like large, furry, bare feet, but that would also act like shoes for the actors. That's Lurtz. That's the. I like the way he's made as well. The way he's sort of born out of the mud like that. Sort of almost kind of fashioned from clay kind of thing. There's the trolls from The Hobbit. So he's going to die, basically, is what you're saying. Yeah, and of those of the Hobbit feet shoes, they made 1,800 pairs of them just for the four lead Hobbit actors, which is incredible. Truly an endeavour as epic and heroic as the story they were to be used for. There she is, Arwen. Apparently, she hadn't read like any of the books or anything beforehand, but actually went on a bit of a lore spree when she got cast and actually learned like a bit of Elvish and stuff. She's good in this. I like her. I mean, her voice is a bit sort of airy and a lot of the time there's little quibbles like that, but mostly she's pretty good. I wish I could tell you what they were saying, but there were no subtitles for that bit. So, too bad, I guess. Ride like the wind! Speaking of horse riding, the principal actors in this were all given training in sword fighting, boating, and riding before the filming. Um, Peter Jackson thought this would allow the cast to just bond before filming to make their like on-screen chemistry as real as possible, and it works. You could buy the fact that the hobbits were friends for years before this. And you believe the new friendships that develop over the course of the story. Um, and it makes sense. It is a story about different people, often with deep historical and cultural reasons to dislike and distrust each other, coming together, setting aside their differences, and working for the common good. If only they'd done that for the Hobbit films. But we're not talking about those yet. Oh no. I just find it just endlessly fascinating that the seriousness with which this production was taken from day one, and like it was in like pre-production for years when they were like training the actors and developing all the props and everything. There was so much preparatory work done for it, and it shows because the final product is just sublime. In case you couldn't tell, I really like this movie. It is probably my favorite of the trilogy, actually. That's cool. With the the horse water, I like that. Well, I guess that's the last we'll be seeing of them. Yeah, don't give in now. Did you see that cool shit that I just did with the water? Do you think that's easy? Do you think I did that for fuck all? Get your shit together, man. Come on. Mr. Anderson. It's nearly Halloween. So, who wants some interesting alternative casting news? I promised you some Bruce Willis and some Xena facts. Well, here we go. Bruce Willis expressed an interest in the role of Boromir, right? Nick Cage was offered the role of Aragorn, right? Sam Neill was offered the role of Gandalf, and Lucy Lawless, yes, that's right, Xena herself, was considered for Arwen. I would give a great deal to see that version of the movie. Can you imagine Nick Cage as Aragorn? Fascinating. Why didn't they just use the eagles to fly the thing to Mordor and then shut up? That was specifically directed at anyone who's like, oh, well, why didn't they just get the eagles to fly them all the way to Mordor? Shut up! Because it would have been boring. Welcome to Rivendell, Mr. Anderson. My name is Frodo. I think the reason why this film is so long is because a lot of it appears to have been filmed in slow motion. Like, what is this? A fucking Zack Snyder movie? It definitely isn't. It's the furthest thing in the world from a Zack Snyder movie. Because while Zack Snyder does adapt a lot of like written material, comics mostly, he does so in such a way as to complete most of the time anyway, in such a way as to completely undermine all of the messaging of the original text. Like the Watchmen movie, for example, which is fine. It's a fine-ish movie, but it just shits all over everything that the Watchmen graphic novel was trying to be and say. Whereas this is pretty much, it's not the most faithful adaptation possible. In fact, no, actually, I would, it's not completely 100% accurate to the books, but I would actually say it is probably the most faithful adaptation that it's possible to feasibly put on screen without each film in the trilogy being like 6 hours long. Because let's face it, most of the book of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, 90% of those books, it's just them walking through fields and, pointing out crap that you don't really need to know about and singing a bunch of songs. And all that's really interesting and it all feeds into the world building and everything. But fuck me, it's very boring to read. Aye. It's not going to be as easy as that, is it, son? Hugo Weaving's good, isn't he? Like acting wise. There he is. Fresh from getting his head chopped off in another fantasy land. How's about you don't look to anyone? How's about you look to yourselves? No politics. No politics in the explicitly political fantasy story, please. Isildur! Damn you, Isildur! Why didn't you throw it in? Why didn't you just kick his ass and take the ring and throw it in the thing yourself? You didn't. You wouldn't even have to touch it. Just knock it out of his hand and then kick it over the edge. I suppose that's a nitpick, almost along the lines of why didn't the Eagles just take them? Blah blah blah. Although that criticism is more fundamental because Elrond could have solved this problem right from the beginning. But then I suppose Isildur was his friend or something. Blah de blah de blah. Yeah, nice book, nerd. Tension. Don't do that. That's a sacred relic you're just putting your grubby little paws all over. That man has no respect. Could that be a little bit of foreshadowing I see there? Certainly feels like it is. Yeah, but you've lived a completely different life, mate. It's not nature versus nurture, it's nature and nurture working in tandem with one another, you know? I don't think either is really more important than the other. In fact, actually, no, that's not true. I would think that you're nurturing, the way in which you're brought up, is significantly more important than your your biological history. You know what I mean? Your the story of your ancestors and all the rest of it. Now, one criticism that I do have of these movies is that I don't think they really convincingly portrayed this relationship. I know it's not like the main thing of the film. It's a kind of it's a subplot. It's pretty much the film's only romantic subplot. Um, but it's just kind of a lot of them just standing talking breathily to one another about how, oh, you can't give up your immortality for the human, but she's like, oh no, but I can do what I want with it, and so on. And it's just like, and I suppose it gets slightly more interesting. Well, it would potentially have gotten slightly more interesting when, um, oh shit, what's her name again? The Rohan person who becomes another romantic interest, sort of briefly in the next one. You know, her who's like, I am no man, stab. What the fuck is her name again? Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, yeah, there could have been a sort of love triangle thing there going on, but it just doesn't really, it's not really that convincing. But that is pretty much my one criticism of these films. One major criticism, anyway. And it's not even that big a deal, really. Because it's, like I say, it's not the main point of the film or anything. It's side material. And I guess the thing I dislike about it is that it doesn't really have much of an impact on the story. It's just kind of going on in the background and doesn't really have any impact on anything else that's going on. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point in showing us this if it's not really got anything to do with the story? All right, calm down. What are you even talking about, Boromir? You have no idea what the fuck you are talking about. Sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up. I mean, that's basically what they've just said, but you know. But it does need a steward who is effectively acting in place of the king. So it kind of does need a king of some kind. Whether it's an officially the king, or somebody who's just standing in for the king. Go on yourself, Gimli! Nice try, mate. Nice try. I admire your spirit. I hope that axe wasn't, like, valuable or anything. It's just. Uh, there is something about the delivery of that line that just really makes me happy. And there's the meme, folks. Well, then you're all fucked. Ooh. I love Legolas's velvet cloak. Come on, show me the cloak. That's what matters here. Show me the cloak. Show me the cloak. You? They're all wearing some sort of velvet. Well, some of them anyway. Frodo isn't. He's not posh enough. And my axe! Oh, Gimli. How dare you! Off with your heads! Oh, leave him alone. He's doing his best. And roll credits. Oh, that's very good. Where are we going? You what? You what? I mean, it's just a sword. Uh oh. Yeah. Scary face. Fun fact that I sort of half remember: this the scary face there was like a plaster or like a rubber mold that was like superimposed over his actual face. And Ian Holm was so delighted with it that he asked for it as a souvenir after filming. Hey, you would want that, wouldn't you? Imagine that being able to like break out a scary mask of your own face. I would enjoy that. So basically, if you can't be asked anymore, then just fuck off home. Is all this fucking pomp and ceremony really necessary? Like, time's a waste in here, you know? I could just you know what I'm doing. The Aerosmith song, Armageddon. Armageddon out of here after that joke. Ho ho ho! CG on that structure there was a bit janky. But I mean, it was only on screen for like 3 seconds, so guess there wasn't much point doing that much hard work on it. Some sacrifices would have had to have been made. See, you'll get there a lot quicker if you stop walking in slow motion. What a fucking vista. Mordor. Oh, you've had enough feasts already, Gimli. Come on, mate. Right, okay, so now it is probably a good time to have a chat about some of the changes from the source material, because I did look up some of them. Aha! Take that, you Sean Bean, yeah. Aha! Call yourself king of the whatever. Hide! Hide from the crows! They're not crows. They are crow-like creatures. Also, don't pour water over a campfire if you're trying to hide it, because that makes the smoke billow. You should throw dirt on it. I learned that from Jurassic Park 3. Right, so anyway, some of the changes from the source material. Mostly the changes that were made were just to kind of tighten things up in terms of like pacing and character development. So I mentioned before about the siege of Barad-dûr um, in the prologue, which lasted for 7 years in the book, but in the film it's just a single battle. Um, as I mentioned before, obviously you couldn't really. I suppose there would have been a way of doing it, but you know, depicting a 7 year siege in a couple of minutes, not really possible. That ring is about 6 inches in diameter. That version of it for that one shot. There's a fun fact. Anyway, the time between Gandalf giving Frodo the ring and returning after his investigation in the book is 17 years. Uh, the time in the movie, it's not actually made explicitly clear, but it seems to be like a couple of months, maybe as much as a year. Ooh, tension, tension, tension. Also, how did that fall off? It was quite well secured under like multiple layers of clothing. Anyway, I guess the clasp on the chain broke or something. The climax of this film, with the Urukai ambush and the killing of Boromir, spoiler alert, uh, though that whole bit is actually at the start of the Two Towers book, but they decided to put it at the end of this film because otherwise the film would just kind of peter out a bit. It needed you need a kind of action scene at the end of your movie, you know. Um, Now this is one of the bigger changes. I think is that Gandalf objects to going through Moria, the mines of Moria. I like that with Legolas just walking across the the surface of the snow like that because he's an elf, and elves are magic. No. So yeah, Gandalf objects to going through Moria as a foreshadowing device, whereas in the book, um, he is actually the one to advocate for heading to the dwarven mine. It's him and Gimli are in favor of it. That's cool. That's really cool. Kablam! But yeah, and this is more of a foreshadowing thing because it's like, ooh, we don't want to go through there because there's probably bad shit going on there, but it's either deal with that bad shit or deal with this bad shit. Deal with a underground mine full of goblins and trolls and a big fire monster. There you go, you see. Dun dun dun. Shadow and Flame? I think you mean for Shadow and Flame. Anyway. Also, Tom Bombadil isn't in this, as you may have noticed. A lot of people weren't happy about that. Mostly the lore nerds, like that guy I knew in high school that I was telling you about before. It's like, oh, they should have had Tom Bombadil in it. Nah, 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 nah. It's like, fucking why? He doesn't actually do anything. Like, I mean, fair enough, he's a fairly interesting character, sort of lore wise. Because it's like, what is he? Why is he not affected by the ring? Uh, what's his whole deal? There's a whole lot of mystery about him. But he basically just acts like a Deus Ex Machina. Like Frodo and the others get into trouble with a big tree that tries to take them prisoner or eat them or something. And Tom Bombadil just comes along and is like, hey, none of that. Um, and I think he also saves them from the ambush at Weathertop, the bit earlier where Frodo got stabbed. Um, that's not fun. That's crap. Some guy just shows up and saves the day. Nah, none of that, please. I would have just bogged the whole thing down. So elves and dwarves have a bit of a history of hating one another, it seems. Ooh, pretty. Pretty. Mwah, mwah. It really takes him far too long to figure out the answer to this incredibly simple puzzle. Gandalf, especially. Like, you're thousands of years old, mate. And you can't, all of that, all of those years of book learning, and you can't even figure out just a simple little puzzle. I feel snapping at Pip there was a little unnecessary. It's a bit mean. See you later, Bill. And Bill was eaten by a mountain lion. Uh oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Melon. Right, that was pretty fucking simple, right? What a bunch of fools. Oh, no! Oh, Jings! Jings! Cribbins! Help my Bob! All my pals are dead! Oh, no! Strider! Ah! It's a tentacly beast! Yeah, fucking fat lot of use your bow is here, mate. Yikes. Scary. Scary and hungry. Good catch. Okay, so yeah, that was a good shot. Could have gone for the eyes, but you know, whatever. 4 days. Blimey. So this film was nominated for 13 Academy Awards in 2002, and it won four of them, which is pretty good. Best costume design. It was something like 19,000 costumes were made or something like that. It's fucking insane. So yeah, two right. Best makeup, best original song, the Enya one at the from the end, and best visual effects. All of which is obviously very well deserved. Should it have won Best Picture? Possibly. Ooh, shiny. Shiny. But what was actually glowing there? It was a bit unclear. um, yeah, so I don't know. Should it have won Best Picture? Let's have a little look at what else was out in 2001. Vanilla Sky. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. AI, artificial intelligence. Now, I really hated that the first time I saw it, but it has grown on me somewhat since since then. It is similar to Lord of the Rings in that it is very long and it ends like 5 times before the final credits roll. But mostly it's pretty good. I appreciate what it's going for, even if it is at least an hour longer than it needs to be. What else? What else in 2001? A Knight's Tale. And look, I like A Knight's Tale. I think it's fine and mostly fun, but a bit weird and problematic in places. Um, yeah, not another teen movie. Yeah, strong, strong Best Picture contender there. The Mummy Returns, absolute banger of a film. Not a patch on the first one, but yeah, it's pretty good. Monkey Bone, bad film. I think. I've only seen it once. I think, but I don't remember it being very good. But hey, 2 films for Brendan Fraser in 1 year. Good on him. Donnie Darko was 2001. And look, I know people like that, but honestly, why? It's not good, people. Come on, open your eyes. Pearl Harbor. Yikes. Jet Li's The One, which I would actually say is the best movie ever made. Evolution, a sort of spiritual sequel to Ghostbusters. Well, it's pretty good as far as I remember. Very of its time. I don't know if a lot of it would really hold up these days. But I remember having a good time with it. And conceptually, it was pretty good. Harry Potter 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Don't even fucking get me started on that. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. It's good, actually. It's good. It's a good film, alright? Everyone's just really mean about it, but it's actually very good. Ignore the ending. The ending was just a silly twist because they felt like they had to have a twist ending like the original had, but anyway. Monsters Inc. was 2001. And I think if it wasn't for Jet Li's The One, this would be the best movie ever made. Monsters Inc. would be the best movie ever made. But they made Jet Li's The One, so how can there be any contest? What else have we got? Spy Kids. Fine. Osmosis Jones. Does anyone remember Osmosis Jones? Because that's not a good film. I like it, sort of, but it's not good. Shallow Hal. Anyone remember Shallow Hal? I don't remember Shallow Hal being too bad, actually, and I think it does actually genuinely have a good message at the core of it. Um, you know, don't be shallow, basically. But it's got a lot of problematic stuff in it, probably. Yeah, I've just all a lot of really rubbish movies that I only like because I saw them when I was 16, back when I had no critical faculties whatsoever. So yeah, in terms of best picture, Lord of the Rings definitely had some competition. I think it was A Beautiful Mind that won Best Picture over To Fodder, To Fodder, The Fellowship of the Ring, To Fodder. Never mind. Which I guess that makes sense. Have I ever seen A Beautiful Mind? I don't think so. Not really my cup of tea, I don't think. Um, should have gone to Jet Li's The One, honestly. Best movie ever made. And I will answer no questions about this. Fool of a took. All right, Gandalf, settle down. Though to be fair, what was he doing? What did he expect was going to happen by touching that rotting corpse that was precariously perched on the edge of a well or whatever that is? Well, we're all fucked now. Orcs. Oh, of course they do. Because who doesn't have a cave troll? I've got a cave troll. I am a cave troll. You could have done a better job barricading it than that. Like, there's all these other axes and things. You could have. Oh, come on. Yous have not done a very good job there, frankly. Why aim for the chest? Obviously, in fact, not even the chest, the shoulder. What the fuck were you hoping for there, Legolas? Come on, man. Again, just go for the eyes. Ooh, ouch. Well, that's him done for. We're not doing too badly, considering. See, now you're using your head, Legolas. Ugh. Hello. Ooh. Ooh. Ouch. That's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. And that's gotta hurt. Stab it in the head. Stab it in the head. Don't stab it in the neck and shoulders. Stab it in the head. You know, where the brain is. Fucking hell. I could Lord of the Rings better than these fucking idiots. Ooh, that doesn't look like it's gone into his body to me. Whee! Yeah, you see, that's more like it. Could have just done that from the start. Mr. Frodo! Don't be dead, Mr. Frodo! Well, what was all that lying unconscious business then? I mean, it would still hurt. It's like bulletproof armor, isn't it? You're wearing like a Kevlar vest, and you get shot. It's still gonna hurt you. It's still gonna like crack a rib probably, and getting a big fucking spear shoved into you. Even if you have got mithril on, like it's flexible. It's gonna you're gonna get some internal damage. You know, like fair enough, it's not gonna pierce your skin, but it's still gonna break bones. You know. In fact, it would probably break your ribs and also force your ribs to puncture your lungs, and then you're fucked. You think you're running around like this with a punctured lung? Fuck no. You're orc food in that situation, baby. Now, some of them are orcs and some of them are goblins. In fact, I think they're all goblins, aren't they? Yeah, I think so. What's the difference between an orc and a goblin? Fuck if I know. Goblins are like smaller and more like more inclined to stay in like caves and mountains and stuff like that. Whereas orcs are a bit more, they're bigger and hardier, I guess. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Anyway, it's Balrog time. Run away! Oh, Boromir, you goose. Pretty spry for an older fellow. Ooh, right in the thinky bits. Whee! Yes, well, we'll just see about that, won't we? Not the beard! I love Gimli so much. Wee crunch. Do 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 do. Good work, guys. Excellent teamwork. All right. My name's Greg. I'm a Balrog. See, I'm not saying very much over this because it's fucking exciting, isn't it? Shall not pass! Kaboom! Aye, Balrog, you dumbass. You fool. You fucking idiot. Oh, Gandalf. You fool. You fucking idiot. No. But what isn't that him saying for them to go and get the eagles and fly to Mordor instead of walking? Blah blah blah. And shouldn't they have done that from the start? Blah blah. Shut up about the fucking eagles. The eagles are off doing their own thing. Okay, they're just chilling out, and they'll come and help when they're needed. And also, everybody's like, oh, the eagles can just solve all the problems. But they're just eagles. Like, fair enough, they're huge eagles. But if all of those eagles flew into Mordor themselves, then they would probably just all get killed. And I know they do that at the end. Do. I know they do all fly into Mordor at the end, but that's only after Sauron's been killed and the mountains exploding and all the orcs are dead. So they're fine. Frodo! Don't wander off, you dick. But he didn't have to die. He didn't have to do that. He could have just climbed up. He could have just climbed up the thing. I don't understand. I'm Frodo. I was genuinely quite upset the first time I saw this when Gandalf did what he just did. It was like he was like my favourite character. I don't think he's my favourite character anymore, but at the time he definitely was. I'm not sure who my favourite character in this would be. Probably Gimli. Mr. Frodo. Good lord, there is still over an hour of this movie to go. What is left? There's all this fucking around in the forest. That's rude. That is rude, and also you look a bit like um, Jason Isaacs in Harry Potter. That was a bit rude. That was a bit rude, Gimli. Why don't you learn some Elvish? How's about that? The thing about Gimli is he's a bit of a dick to begin with, but I think out of all the characters, he has the most growth throughout this series because he starts off as a dick who hates elves for no real reason, Um, and is just a bit of a grumpy asshole. And then by the end, he is a grumpy asshole, but he's learned to be more accepting of others. He looks weird without his helmet. Oh, fuck off, Boromir. I suppose if we're going by the characters that have the most growth, um, I suppose next to Gimli is probably Boromir, because he starts off being all arrogant and like, ooh, Gondor doesn't need a king, and even though it has a king that's just not called the king, but doesn't need a king, um, and he's also just a bit of an asshole and hungry for power, and he desires the ring, and he nearly betrays everybody. And I think if he had survived, because spoiler alert, he doesn't survive. Um, I think if he'd survived to the end, I would probably say he had the most growth, or was at least growth in a similar vein to a similar extent as Gimli has. So I think technically speaking, those two are my favourite characters based on that one criteria. But there are other factors, aesthetic factors. Christ, he's even speaking in slow motion. Is it something about being around elves that just stretches time? Yes, he made a bold sacrifice. A bold and unnecessary sacrifice. It wasn't really needlessly. You didn't have much of a choice. It was either go through Moria and maybe live, or stay on that mountain and definitely die. Right, point of order here. It's glowing, not glowing. Gimli, son of Glowin. Glowing, for fuck's sake. I mean, I think I'm right in saying that. And I did say earlier that the actors were all trained in how to pronounce. Oh, did I mention that earlier? I mentioned about other things that were trained in, but they got some like vocal coaching in how to speak Elvish as well and like pronounce like place names and things like that. So I don't know, maybe it is Gloin, but I think that sounds stupid. And also when it's written down, it's got a little accent above the O, which I think means it's pronounced glowing or glowing or something. Not Gloin. It's not Gloin. Gloin's a stupid name, and I don't like it. I'm going to climb down from this high horse now. Do you have to be so spooky about it? Was that really necessary? Yeah, it's a bit of a pointless lament, because, spoiler alert, he's not actually dead. Who did Aragorn punch just there? Was that Gimli? Was he? Guess it must have been. He was probably snoring whilst Sam was reciting his lovely little poem. And it was a nice poem. I don't care what anybody else says. It was crafted on the fly and it came from the heart, as all good poetry should be, I guess. Is he though? Yeah, been there, done that. No fucking interested, mate. Didn't get your hopes up, Boromir, my friend. See, they're talking in slow motion again. It does give it a sort of ethereal, dreamlike quality, though, doesn't it? Which I think is somewhat the point. Just say the future. It's like in a Christmas Carol. It's the ghost of Christmas past, ghost of Christmas present, and ghost of Christmas yet to come. Just say ghost of Christmas future. Just say future. It's fine. You don't need to be a wank about it. You really don't. That's right. I am calling Galadriel Queen of these elves, or whatever she is, a wank. Ooh, that doesn't look good. That looks like some sort of sacking. A sacking of the Shire. And a lot of lore nerds were also unhappy that we didn't get a proper. Like that's the extent of the sacking of the Shire that we get in these films. Really, it would have been more a thing in the third film if they'd done it, but they didn't. And I think it probably good that they didn't because that's just more fucking runtime that wouldn't really have added anything. Just say his fucking name. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe pass on that. Do the other rings have like special powers? Kind of crap if they don't. I mean, presumably they just sort of make you kind of generically more powerful. Um, but they should give you like the ability to chuck fireballs about and stuff. That would be cool. All right, ease up, mate. He's standing right there. Oh wait, that's an Urukai. They're different. So you've got orcs who can't really go out in daylight and all the rest of it. Uh, and you've got your Uruks, this lovely lot, who are just bigger and stronger and can go out in daylight. Yum. Unspoiled, eh? Looking forward to doing some spoiling of some halflings, are you, Saruman? You weird old creep. Very good. Yep, that's a knife. That is definitely a knife. A row, row, row your boat gently downstream. If you see an urukai, don't forget to scream. Ah! Oh, steady on now, Gimli. Oh, he's a bit smitten. Again, no subtitles for any of this, but presumably they're banging on about, oh, it's Arwen's given up her immortality so that she can be with you. And Aragorn's like, well, she shouldn't have done that because I'm not worthy and blah blah. Get fucking over it. Just there's bigger issues here. Come on. See, I guess you could have like kind of started wrapping this movie up here It's like I was saying, the whole basically everything that comes after this point is at the start of the the book of the Two Towers. Um, but you probably could have ended it with them kind of rowing off to face their destiny. But I don't think it would have been quite as impactful. Okay, Gimli, mate, I love you, but that's a bit weird. Not gonna lie, little bit creepy. Although she gave you three when you asked for one, so I guess she was into it. Nevertheless, just bring it down. Just bring it down a smidge, mate. Just a tiny wee bit. There's a good lad. Oh, here they come. The music in this is so fucking awesome as well. See, they're moving in slow motion, but a distinctly lower frame rate. What was the guy? What was the name of the guy who did the score for this? Howard Shore, I think his name was. Yeah, well, he's fucking dead now, isn't he? Stop! Do not go this way, you fools! All right, they're big statues. Fucking get over it. I mean, they are actually really big statues, so fair enough. right, Boromir, let's just stop coveting Frodo's ring. I have a bad feeling about this. Don't centre on your anxieties, Legolas. But Master Gandalf says I should be mindful of the future. That's it, Frodo. You just go wandering off on your own. You're in possession of the most powerful and valuable artifact in the history of the universe. Kick him in the head. There we go. Ah, you dumbass. Yeah, you'll probably want to take that ring off about now. Ooh, that's kind of height. That's a bit patronising, actually, Frodo. I think you'll find that Sam, while he may be naive and a little bit bumbling, he's actually quite clever in his own way. Oh, aye, here we go. Hello, ah. That was good. Shoot an arrow through one person as somebody else is running up behind them, and they get impaled on the arrow that is through the person in front. That's some good archery, actually. It's good archery. He's not going to do it. Okay, it's trivia time. It's trivia time. Strap in, everyone. We're doing some trivia time. Wah, 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 wah. This is the part of the commentary where I go through some IMDb trivia and rate them as either interesting or not interesting. 10 bits of trivia. Let's go. Right, so Sir Christopher Lee read Lord of the Rings once a year until his death in 2015 and had done so since the year it was published. He was also the only member of the cast and crew ever to have actually met Tolkien. I rate that bit of trivia as interesting. Ding. I'll eat up any Christopher Lee trivia you've got. I think he's a fascinating person. Trivia number 2. Ba, 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 ba. During filming, most of the members of the Fellowship took up surfing in New Zealand in their spare time. Amongst them was Vigo, Aragorn, who wiped out terribly one day and bruised the whole side of his face. The next day, makeup artists tried to mask the bruising and swelling, but they were unsuccessful. Instead, Peter Jackson opted to film Mortensen from one side for the entire scene. In the Mines of Moria, when they find the tomb, Aragorn is only seen from one side in the whole scene. Now, when I wrote that fact down before having started watching the film, I rated that as interesting, because it is quite interesting. Something I'd never noticed before. But when I was looking through that scene, I was watching closely for Aragorn showing up in it, and you quite clearly see both sides of his face. That is just a false bit of trivia. Like Peter Jackson may have tried to mostly film like one side of his face, but you quite clearly see like the full front of his face in a lot of shots. And in fact, in some, it's a fight scene, so it's quite rapidly cut. But you can actually see in some of the shots of him that, yeah, one side of his face does look kind of bruised. So I've actually changed my mind on that bit of trivia. It is not interesting because it is a lie. Ooh. You can do it, Boromir. I'm sure you'll be fine. You've got a shield, mate. Where's your shield? Really would have come in handy about now. Right, piece of trivia number 3. Here we go. Despite playing a dwarf, John Rhys-Davies is the tallest of the actors who play members of the Fellowship. He is 6'1". I would rate that as not interesting. Oh, so you got a tall guy, play a short guy. Fucking whoop-de-doo. Gonna have to do better than that to impress me. Oh, his horn's broken, look. He blew his horn too hard, and that's not an innuendo. Right. Fact, trivia, not fact, trivia. Number 4. When Pippin is being hit with apples after asking about second breakfast, not breakfast, breakfast, it is Viggo Mortensen chucking the apple at his head. They had to shoot the scene 16 times to get it just right, and Billy Boyd says he believes Mortensen enjoyed himself immensely. I rate that as interesting. Ding! It's a good bit of banter, isn't it? Just a bit of banter with the lads, chucking apples at people's heads. You could really hurt somebody doing that, you know? Oh, Jesus. "'Tis but a flesh wound." Yeah, so much for that guy. Right, trivia number 5. Here we go. For high-tech tasks, a computer program called Massive made armies of CGI orcs, elves, and humans. These digital creations could think and battle independently, identifying friend or foe, thanks to individual fields of vision. Director Peter Jackson's team could click on one creature in a crowd scene of 20,000 and see through that creature's quote unquote eyes. Different species even boast unique fighting styles. I rate that as reasonably interesting. Ding. Yeah, it's just quite cool, doesn't it? Again, just speaks to the lengths that they went to make sure that these films were as good as they are. Although I'm not sure how much that applies to this film. I would think that applies more in the next two, where there's the like huge battles. But I guess they would have been using it for this as well. I mean, you see like all the orcs kind of marching out of Isengard and all that. No, this is a bit sad, isn't it? I mean, it would be if Boromir hadn't been such a relentless piece of shit throughout this entire film. No, you wouldn't. You hated him, remember? Oh, Gondor needs no king, I thought. Hmm? Okay, he's had a deathbed repentance. Suppose that's good enough. I suppose. Trivia number 6, here we go. Hobbiton was made a year before production began to make it look like it was a natural lived in place, complete with real vegetable patches and pretty much everything else. The Greens Department regulated the length of the grass by having sheep eat it. That's interesting. Ding! They literally built a mostly functional town for this movie. And they knocked it down afterwards. Maybe not after this one, but certainly after Return of the King was done. Um, but for the Hobbit movies, they rebuilt it and kept it up as a tourist attraction. Like I've said it multiple times, but the commitment to like the production work and production design work on these movies is fucking incredible. Painstaking and like really faithful to the descriptions of things in the books. Like even down to like Bilbo having brass buttons on his waistcoat, as it's described in the book. Like you didn't have to go to all that length, really. I mean, me, a layperson, is not going to know the difference between a brass button and a button that's just made to look like brass. But they spare no expense. It's great. Mr. Frodo! Yeah, you'll catch up to him better if you're not going in slow motion. Excuse me. You will catch up to him better if you're not going in slow motion, buddy. Yeah. Oh, Sam, you fool. What have you done? Oh, they're buddies. They're the bestest buddies. They are closely bonded platonic life partners. And I think that's lovely. Nope, that's him away then. Wee! I'm not dead yet. Okay, I'm now. Right, trivia number 7. I think I mentioned this before actually. When Frodo falls on the snow and loses the ring, a close up of the ring with Frodo in the background is shown. In order to keep both subjects focused, a giant ring 6 inches in diameter was used. That's very interesting. Ding! Because it's a big ring, isn't it? There was a thing I saw recently where somebody edited the soundtrack of that bit to be Shania Twain, "Let's Go Girls," and it's very funny. I think that was it anyway. Something like that. Strider. Oh, aye, Strider will look after him. Yeah, keep some fucking optimism about you, Frodo lad. I know you've got the source of all evil hanging around your neck, but come on. Right, trivia number 8. During the Council of Elrond, leaves are continually falling in the background to suggest this is a meeting that is taking place outside. This meant about half a dozen crew members were positioned above the set, dropping leaves at various intervals. This also meant that the production department had to collect numerous stacks of leaves during autumn, and of course dead leaves turn brown fairly quickly, which also meant every one of the leaves had to be painted. Not interesting. Did we really need to paint them? Wait, so were they painting them? Oh, they must have been. No, actually, sorry. I assumed that they were painting them to make them look autumnal, but wouldn't they already be like that? And then why? But then why not just take fresh leaves? I don't know. That's doesn't seem like the most efficient way of doing that, but whatever. Um, right, what we got? Trivia number 9. Oh, the movie's ended. Oh, okay, good. That's not the trivia thing. That's just what's happened here. The moth to which Gandalf whispers was born shortly before filming that day and died soon after the scene was finished. Not interesting. Yeah, moths don't live very long. But at least it went out on a high, having been handled and whispered to by Ian McKellen. Sorry, what was I saying? Right, trivia number 10. When the Fellowship comes out of hiding from the crows during their stop on the hills, Gandalf says, "Spies of Saruman." However, during the first take of this scene, Sir Ian McKellen jokingly said, "Spies of Star Wars." Not interesting. I simply refuse to believe that this actually happened. Don't get me wrong, I think Ian McKellen is a funny guy, but that just doesn't seem like something he would say. He apparently hadn't read the book before being cast. So are you really trying to tell me that Sir Ian McKellen was more familiar with Star Wars than with Lord of the Rings? Really? Absolute codswallop, if you ask me. Also, they're Crebain, not crows. You dumb fuck. And on that note, we have reached the end of the movie. What a long movie. But it's very, very good. There is literally 25 minutes of credits. We're not going to sit through all of that. This ain't a Marvel movie. There are no mid and post credit scenes to worry about. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening along while you watched this. If indeed you did, maybe you just had me on in the background while doing other things. Some people do that. Some people just listen to movie commentaries just on their own. Which is a thing, I guess. But anyway, however you have consumed this content, thank you very much for doing so. I will return in probably a couple of weeks' time with part 2 of this glorious adventure, The Two Towers. We're going to be getting into sort of facts and trivia and jokes about the cast, and you know the score. Anyway, I'm going to clock off now because this has been a long, long, long movie. But I really love it. I really love it. Like I say, I think this is probably my favourite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's either this or the Two Towers. I can't. Yeah, there's not a lot to pick between them, but I like the. I like the themes of this one. You know, the group of diverse people coming together, working together for this common cause, and the trials and tribulations that they face in doing that, and yeah, it's all just good stuff. Anyway, I'm going to stop whittering on now. Have a lovely, lovely time, folks, and I will see you around. Catch you later. Bye bye.